This is a video for the Dislyte boys. If you're not them, get out.
Hello and welcome back to Dislyte News. The Dislyte News for your Dislyte News. New versions coming up, and that means I'm talking about new stuff once again. And oh boy, there's some new stuff coming up. So before we get to the new stuff, we gotta talk about the old stuff. That means Fatima. So Fatima, I don't get her at all, honestly. She's basically like a PvP esper, but she's a PvP esper out of meta. So there's like no point pulling for her for PvP right now. And she needs so much stats that it's not really worth getting like R0 Fatima anyways. So final verdict on Fatima, not worth pulling. Next up we have Mavis. Mavis, R0. Don't need anymore. You use her mostly for PvP, but you can also use her for APEP. She's pretty good for PvP, so you might really want her, but you might not really want her after the new version, and I'll talk about that later. Next up, Archibald. Archibald, not really needed honestly. You want him for the one swing debuff for true damage. A small Mavis support, but honestly Jinchu works better. But then again, that's something that needs to be addressed with the new version stuff. So new version, new Esper. So the first Esper, Amir. Amir seems like he's more PvP centric than PvE. His main thing is that he can AoE a lot and just like not consume turns at the same time because he does pursuit attacks. For now, I really see him really good at basically clearing waves of enemies because apparently his buffs don't go away after each wave, which interesting, you know? And PvP, he's gonna be kinda good. Not meta, but he can be there. I feel like it's really good for Fafnir. But for Fafnir teams, we kind of already have like quite a solid team, so unless you don't have like a solid Fafnir team, he might be good. So next up, we have Leora. Leora, I think R0 works just fine. You don't need any higher than R0. Leora is good for Chronos and sometimes used in PvP, but Leora meta in PvP, not really. Next up, we have TA, or Nut. Basically just the Esper everyone has at this point, so I don't even know if I should talk about it. Resonances are all kind of useless. R6 can be a bit interesting, but really none of the resonances are really all that useful. So TA probably a not worth for me. And for the first time in Dislyte history, we're getting 4 Esper pulls. And the fourth one that we're getting is Jinchu. Jinchu solid R2. If you have Mavis in the team with Jinchu, every time Mavis takes a turn, Mavis gives everyone crit rate up, which in turn gives Mavis this shield buff where every time she gets hit, she gets a shield, which is really good for her survivability. But here's the thing, Amir, what he brings to the table is that he can also dispel shields and also have like advantages if the enemy gains shields. So basically the new meta, or basically what Amir brings to the table, is that he's going to start ruining some Mavis teams and some shield teams. He's still going to be good, but his value just like gets lessened by Amir just a tiny bit. And another thing is that new Shimmer, Petros. This guy, I'm not sure to what extent, but basically every time one of the enemy gets like low enough HP, they cannot be healed, they cannot be revived, they cannot be like buffed up with like all this like death saves and all that, which kind of bad for the enemy. But for now, he's not really a meta defining Esper. He's just a Shimmer that seems to be doing his own thing. Oh, that's pretty much it. This is probably the longest Dislyte news I've ever made, but hey, share more stickers. Bye.